Aaron West says, hello friends. William says, howdy. Sage the Scales Tarot says, I'm reading my cards on Harris's Law and Order presidency. Tina Marie says, here for Hall's truth, tired of Trump's lies. Swims with Whales says, Kath MCC howdy. Carol Warner says, hello. Kath. BKLYNNY471 says, hi 56 Nick Rich. Roderick Berry.
Oh yes. Let's get it going. Yes. Now let's see if this part works. Hold on.
It's a malware called Q-Snatch.
I think so.
Winston Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill. Action replays in magnified fortune.
All right. All right. Oh, there's one more thing I need to do. Almost there. Make sure that software is open so it doesn't have a major collapse. Yes. Now I think we are good to go solo. Hey, there we are. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide. I'm Hal Sparks. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So much to cover, not the least of which is our lovely chat room, which is always, I gotta say, jam-packed. You might notice that it's a little bit light today. I'm not ashamed to say it. There's another event that is, wrecking the internet, wrecking the interwebs, and that is, of course, Harris, Beyonce, and Willie Nelson, and Houston tonight. And I'm sure that people like texting and sending pictures and everybody, of everybody around them in the line and all that kind of stuff. All those folks are clearly eating up a lot of bandwidth, is what I would say. So if you're having a little trouble muscling your way in here, it's okay. Just hit the like right away. Share the show. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. Great way to support the show. Like $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you can do. There's levels and that kind of stuff, but no matter what, you get a free comedy show at the end of every month because I do it live at Flappers and we stream it to our Patreon subscribers. I'm working on doing that for YouTube members as well. Yes. Yes, even outside it's packed. And where did that guy go? It's got to be in here somewhere, right? I mean,
People coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup.
It's out in that zone of, it was way back in the day.
Yosemites.
You know what I mean? It was an ancient one, even outside it's packed.
Michigan gave us Motang.
You know what I mean? It was an oldie but a grindy. So let's see. What in the okay, so couple of things. Real quick. I don't know what the fuck this is, but I'm going to share it with you because, good Lord. Hogan Gidley, a man with... Trump had this thing about people with names that should be in, like, storybooks for boys in the 1950s, like Ty Cobb and others, Ty Cobb and so on. I have an echo. I shouldn't have an echo. It should be an echo. I don't want an echo. Don't echo me. Whatever you're doing. I don't see an echo. Is there an echo? I had an echo earlier, but it's gone. Okay, this is, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, this is Hogan Gidley wearing his Make America Great Again shirt or hat, and he says this about Sarah Huckabee Sanders. See if you can figure it out.
I've been in politics now, working with communicators and working on communications for various candidates for 25 years. In fact, my first job was for a man named Mike Huckabee, who was governor of the state of Arkansas. I've known Sarah Sanders since she was 19. If we really want to have a good conversation, let's turn off the cameras and talk about Sarah at 19. No.
Yikes. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, if your main candidate is a creepy McCreepyson, if he's creepy McCreeptastic, shut up about young girls and you and working with him and working with them. Just saying. Okay, so Harris, let's see. There it is. I just wanted to show you this business, which if you haven't seen it currently, is this is the line to get in to see Harris. It's, I mean, like 6 hours before the thing. This is, yeah. It is a huge turnout. Now, I'm certain that it helps that Beyonce is going to be there. I believe also that she is going to do a song. She's probably going to do Freedom and maybe a couple other songs, maybe something off her country album. I think it would be smart. Willie Nelson is also going to be there. And I'm sure it does not hurt. But also, Houston in many ways is a Democratic stronghold and a very high population area in Texas. And Texas is one of those states where the state looks red, but the cities start looking blue. And if you cleared out half of those votes and the shenanigans that go on in those areas, you'd see that, you know, it's a lot more purple than you think. The reason this is scary for Ted Cruz, for a lot of reasons. One, I think all the brown people, but the biggest reason why it is really scary for Ted Cruz is this is the Trump event with Ted Cruz. It's like 800 people in a weird little factory setting someplace. He's got this guy from Customs and Border Patrol who's a complete bigot, and this poor woman who lost her daughter to a migrant, you know, who sexually assaulted and murdered her. And Trump is, you know, believe me, not above exploiting anyone who's been harmed for his own benefits. And if you look, it says deport illegals now, end migrant crime, text Trump, blah, blah, blah. So it's a fundraiser, and the two primary messages are deport illegals now, end migrant crime. And this is relatively short compared to what he does. So we'll jump straight into this. And then, of course, Trump visited a Cuban restaurant. Well, let's do this first. It's shorter. With Vivek Ramaswamy, who it seems like he's like, I'm going to a Cuban restaurant. Let me bring one of my brown supporters with me. It has this creepy thing that anytime he goes to a place, he slathers on more orange makeup, fakes his skin color more than usual, and he brings someone with him from out of the district that has nothing to do with the area that goes, hey, see, I know one. And it makes no sense whatsoever. But here we go. This is
okay,
Trump.
We're interrupting this live coverage real quick as we are hearing that USA event. But let's listen.
Yeah, he brought Marco Rubio with him. Also, can I just say that Trump has had this thing lately where he hates his hair, and rightly so. But he's doing this thing. You'll notice when he turns. Watch this. When they get the left side of his head. Hold on. Move your arm, dude. There you go. Look. There you go. He's got this little fender bump and the bald spot that he's been trying to like. It's like this is a comb over nightmare. This is when you don't realize that you're supposed to comb this stuff back and around to cover the top of it. And you could tell he's so focused on the mirror that he just does not expect anybody to give a shit about the back of his head, even though he's surrounded by cameras at all times. You got to do, you got to manage the entire do, one would think, unless you've completely given up. But he's got this weird mud flap happening. He's also got the Ford Fairlane fender, which is wetter and more sprayed than usual. So, where's Marco Rubio? We're at a Cubany place. This is basically like Little Florida, so bail me out. You're speaking Spanish to the guy? You're speaking Spanish? I got these votes? Okay, can we leave now? It smells funky.
Everybody good?
He doesn't like it when they applaud other people.
Sir, is everybody going to the rally? Yeah. President Trump, did you tell General Kelly that you wanted Hitler's generals?
That you wanted the kind of generals that Hitler had. Is that something that you've ever said?
No, I never said that.
What did you think?
No, I've never said that. I've never said that. He's totally said that.
Brag that he made up stories. He's done it before. It's a failing magazine. Right before the election. It's just a failing magazine.
Also, right before the election, no, the recording of him actually saying it vocally instead of just writing it down is the new part of this. But he said it before. He said it multiple times. Trump's even said similar things about Kim. He said he was on tape saying he wanted the same thing from Kim Jong-un's people. That Kim Jong-un's generals, everybody stands up at attention when he walks in. So he wants his people to do the same thing. Like, this is not out of character for him. The other thing too is he stacks a lie, and he does it in the speech that he gives, where he says, I'm not going to stand in a grave with all these military people around saying suckers and losers. That is the same as the Bongino lie, the Bongholio lie that I told you about, where he's like, yeah, I heard you put the guy in a headlock and you tried to beat up these two dudes. And like, when that's not the story at all. So you exaggerate it ad absurdum and then call it a lie when it's your lie. He does that a bunch.
What do you think of the vice president calling you a fascist?
I can't hear you. Something about me being the fastest. Basically, by the way, this is a Front Row Joe's meet and greet when they put these things together. Just letting you know. That's the same thing with the drive-through lane at the McDonald's.
Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Do not lean over.
You mentioned potential use of the military on election day. What does that look like?
Thank you, everybody.
Look at, oh, by the way, if you notice, they have a little cardboard at this place already. They have a cardboard cutout of Trump wearing a sombrero with a scarf, hand-knitted scarf draped around his shoulders. See that?
Potential use of the military on election day. What does that look like?
Needless to say, the owner and everybody there is a big suck-up. Also, for the record, the Cuban community in Florida, which is notoriously Republican for a lot of reasons, is very different from the Hispanic community in Nevada and Arizona and those surrounding areas, and are often at odds because they are known as the group that is pulling up the ladder behind them. Sarab, thank you. Yes. Okay, so, and this is a volunteer gathering that they put together. But they do this in restaurants to make it look like, oh, I'm sorry, are we live streaming on, did I go live on Insta? No, I did not, hold on. Crap. We'll start now on Instagram. Sorry about that, everyone. I'm sorry, I left out that other one. I got so carried away talking to you guys because this is the greatest live stream in the history of live streams, hit that like, share the show. Welcome, Instagram people. You didn't get to see the beginning. You're going to have to go subscribe to the YouTube channel to make sure you don't miss anything. I'm just saying. Oh, Rochester. So this is just a gathering at this Cuban restaurant where the owner is a big supporter, and the Cuban community, you know, because he's from Florida, and there's a lot of that stuff. But ultimately, they just bring in the volunteers that they have, like get out the boat people and stuff in there, and they just fill the restaurant with it. So it looks like he walked into a restaurant and everybody's like, oh my God, look who showed up. So basically, let's see. I think this is, I don't even need to like cut and paste because I don't think he just walks around and they chant and they say things and he waves and hold on. He might say something at one point, but yeah, it's not mic'd or anything. So he's just basically like, hey, love you guys, you're great. Hold on, maybe they turn it up here. Hold on. It's just B-roll. Trump's asking Marco Rubio to translate. Few things are more awkward than Trump in a group of people he has to pay attention to. So there he goes, and he does his little jerk-off dance. Hold on. And then, yeah, off he goes. All right, so that's the extent of it. So he goes to this Cuban restaurant here owned by a Trump sycophant. And then he was also asked whether he would pardon Hunter Biden. This was the story that was getting the rounds. And I have to say, there are times when he looks tired and weak and wiped out. And there are times when he is just a flagrant, just orange bag of shit. This is not good. And he looks increasingly kind of tired and confused in all this. Campaigning is hard work, and he's just frankly not up to it. You'll see it a bit. His speeches, even the ones where he's like, I get more and more angry, and he doesn't sound angry. He sounds bored and tired. And also, I had to warn everybody that, you know, this is tonight will be pretty brutal. They're going to be, there's a lot of nut watch. I'm just saying. Okay, so here we go. This is him being asked whether he would pardon Hunter Biden.
You've talked about wanting to unify the country if you're elected. If you are president again, in the name of unity, would you consider pardoning Hunter Biden?
Well, I wouldn't do anything that would be overt in terms of Hunter. It's a sad situation. But I could have done that with Hillary Clinton. She was crooked Hillary. She's crooked Hillary.
You can't pardon someone unless they've been convicted of a crime, dipshit, and a federal crime at that. You know, people like Paul Manafort and Mike Flynn.
And I said, wouldn't it be terrible to take the President of the United States, put his wife in jail? And she was
Secretary of State and a senator.
Secretary of State, aside from everything else.
Aside from everything else. Aside from everything else? Aside from everything else, she was Secretary of State of the United States of America. Okay.
To take the president's...
I mean, you know, she's his wife, but she's got this side gig doing some bullshit government job that I don't understand.
And put her in jail. And I tempted down. You saw that when they were going, put her up, you know, lock her up. And I'm going...
They were saying put her up?
Nice and easy. People don't remember that. Nice and easy.
Yes. You were something about the easy bake oven or some... Nice and easy. Is that the ladies' dye you use for your hair? Or?
And we won. But wouldn't that be terrible? And then I found out that when I came in over nothing, look, I got 2 impeachments and I won. I'm winning.
No, you didn't. You were impeached both times. You just weren't removed from office.
All the cases. How about the case in Florida? The big case was the one in Florida. I won that case.
You didn't win this case. You didn't win it. It's going to come back, dum-dum.
What they've done is use the FBI and they've used the Department of Injustice to go after their political opponent, and it has never been done in this country.
Oh, boo fuckity who.
And people say, am I going to do that? And the answer is no, I don't want to do that. It's so bad for the country. The precedent they've set is so bad for our country.
By the way, he absolutely would do that. But in 2 weeks from the election, if you're trying to reach the last few voters, you're not going to say you are, especially right up to it. But of course he is. And after he's done, like, well, they tried to do it to me. I kind of owe it to them.
But I could have done it with Hillary, and certainly you do it with Hunter or whatever. But I don't want to do it with Hunter either. And I'll bet you the father probably pardons him. Let's see what happens. But he's a bad boy. There's no question about it.
He's a bad boy. Naughty. How's he compared to Don Jr.? Hey, fuck that. How does he compare to RFK Jr.? Because I know Hunter smoked some shit, but RFK Jr. rode the white horse for a good long while. I think in terms of just scattered ass, I think RFK Jr.'s really pegged the needle, even in the last fake campaign he was running.
I don't want to hurt people. I really don't. I have to say,
not white people.
Say this: the country has to heal. It has to get better. We have a really this tremendous anger in this country from the stupidity that we're watching. 4 years of gross incompetence, 4 years of stupidity.
He's asking about the Biden presidency, not yours.
And she's worse than he is. I watched CNN last night. I watched her performance on...
No, he did not.
A town hall, or whatever you want to call it.
I'd call it a town hall because it was a town hall. That's what you call it, because that's what it's called.
She's not even coherent. And we've had...
Oh, I know what's happening here. You're having trouble discerning what sentences, how sentences are structured, what words mean. Were you smelling almonds during this?
Had that for 4 years. We're not going to be able to survive another 4 years.
She can't even talk. Every time she talks, I smell burnt toast.
We're not going to be able to take it for 4 more years.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
By the way, no, I won't do that. But that said, that's Trump kind of dodging that question. Of course, he's not going to pardon Hunter Biden and try to build bridges. It's all grievance all the time. Don't believe me? Watch this. By the way, you're watching House Parks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc.
It's an honor. This is an honor, and I want to thank the people behind me because they have done an incredible job under very adverse conditions, I have to say. And they're very special people. Very special. Congratulations to Paul. He gave a speech last week, which was incredible. I mean, they endorsed me, so I have to think it was incredible. So thank you all very much.
It's a Border Patrol guy.
Great group of people. They love our country. Before we begin, I want to address the unconstitutional decision issued today by a radical judge appointed by Biden, and it just came down in Virginia, illegally allowing non-citizens to vote in our elections.
No, you cannot. It is illegal to vote in our elections if you're not a citizen. You're not in Virginia or any other state. Don't listen to this asshole and try to vote. If you don't have the right to vote, you will go to jail. He's talking out of his ass. What he means is the attempt by Youngkin and the legislature in Virginia to purge the voter rolls again close to election, within 90 days of the election, when if you are a registered voter and you are an American citizen and you are purged during that time, you cannot, you are past the point of being able to re-register. So you will be denied. So what they do is they take names that are sound-alikes, a lot of them not surprisingly Latino, Hispanic, or black sounding names, and go, well, there's 2 different versions of this guy and it's in a blue district. So we'll just assume that's the same guy, even though one's a junior and one's a senior, even though they have a different middle initial. We'll just pull them off the voter rolls. And then that person who's a legitimate voter cannot vote because they can't re-register, or they don't find out they're no longer registered until they show up. They go, you're not registered to vote, and they have to do a provisional ballot, and then they hope it's not counted, or it does, or people will reject it, not bother, that kind of stuff, which is not going to fucking happen. But it's this tactic that used to work quite frequently, and even if you can shave off a couple of hundred votes here and there. Every tactic, the purpose is to shave off about 1,000 votes statewide. So if you do 10 or 15 different things, you're shaving off, somewhere between 9 and 15,000 votes. And if that's the margin and you can target it to Democratic areas, you can hand the state to Trump. That's what they're doing. It's what they're doing in Georgia. It's what they're doing in fucking North Carolina. It's certainly what they're doing in Florida and Texas. Yeah. So there you go.
In fact, a poll came out, 87% of the people disagree, so that's pretty good amount, isn't it, Ted, huh?
Also, nobody agrees at all that non-citizens should vote. They're not voting. That's not what it is. It's about purging people close to the election and knowing that you'll have name overlap and people who have the right to vote will be kicked off. There are no illegals registered to vote. If they were, they'd have been purged earlier in the year or rejected outright when their registration came through.
The outrageous decision goes against the very bedrock of our democracy, and thankfully Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who's doing a terrific job, is working hard to fix this problem.
Okay, by the way, this is largely for show. I'd like to remind you, this is not going to affect Democratic turnout. It's not even going to work. It's not going to eliminate people's right to vote. What it does is there's a lot of maggots who don't trust voting and go, what's the fucking point? They're just going to steal it anyways, and have fallen back into this sort of evangelical, libertarian, sovereign citizen mindset. So they're not going to vote. And that's a statistically significant number of people. So what they're trying to do is they do these like, we're beating them everywhere. We're filing these lawsuits. We're going to make sure they're hand counted, blah, 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 so that those people will go and vote because they've already just gone, well, fuck it. If they cheated and beat him while he was in office, what chance does he have if he's out of office? Especially if he's given the president of the United States total freedom to do whatever he wants while he's president, because everything's an official act, right?
They found thousands of illegal votes, and the judge said you didn't do it in a timely fashion. They did it a long time ago. As legal scholar Andy...
No, they didn't, or it would have happened.
McCarthy just said, and very correctly, how can non-citizens be allowed on the voter rolls if their voting is a federal crime?
Well, I'll tell you. Purging citizens within willy-nilly, within 90 days of an election, within fucking 3 weeks of an election, is illegal. Because they don't have a chance to remedy that, and they will be kicked off. You have a job to do purging those voters or looking at the voters when they come in. Your registration. Is Youngkin? I think is the idea. Is Youngkin running Virginia in such a way that the voter registration is just rubber stamped, that they don't check when they get a new registration, that when somebody brings in a list of like registered voter forms, they just automatically throw them on the pile in Virginia? Is that how it works?
Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley, two great guys, by the way, also know.
Two assholes who are always carrying one ball each, even though it can't be a heavy load.
That it is a crime to be a non-citizen voter.
Right. Yes, it is. It still is, and it still will be. It still is.
Removing illegal voters off the voting roll should be a big priority for this country, and yet instead we're scorned by a judge.
No, you're not. Your attempt to knock legitimate voters off the rolls last minute so they can't re-register after that deadline is the problem. Do your fucking job or shut the fuck up. And by the way, there's a real easy remedy to this. If you have a list of people who are allegedly illegals and you were trying to get those names purged and you have that list, if any of those fuckers show up, this is going to be great. You filed this action. If they vote, they go to jail, right? That's illegal. So here's what you do. Wait for it. You go to the polling place that these people are associated with, or you check to see if they mail in their ballot. And if they do, you arrest them. Right? Because being on the rolls, if I just walk around with a fucking pen pencil, with one of these like voter sign up things for let's just say, let's spitball this. I'm hired by Maggot International, the consortium of foreign slush funds supporting Donald Trump for president, and they hire me to register voters, and I'm walking around with voter registration forms, and I go, hey, register to vote here, and then you can fill out this thing, and I know I'm in an area where people are filling it out and it's illegal, and I send them in anyways, right? If I take those things, and all I have to do is I can do it on purpose even. I can go to this place and sign up every person that I know is undocumented. Like, hey, any undocumented workers, like everybody in this parking lot that's trying to get work and these kind of stuff. I'm guessing some of you guys aren't registered. Cool. Come here. Fill these out. I get paid by the sign up. So don't worry about it. Nothing's going to blow back on you. And then you come in and I just take a bunch of fake ones, bunch of bullshit ones, make them up even. And, just non-citizens, no social security number, none of that shit. And I throw them in. And now, even though I know that person isn't going to vote, I know that person is not going to be able to vote. And if they do, they'll go to jail. I can now say there's a bunch of non-citizens that are registered to vote in the state because I registered them. That's what the Trump campaign is also doing in a bunch of states. They are active. That's why a bunch of their door knockers are bullshit. It's why the companies they hire to register people to vote have been turning in fraudulent bullshit forms. Nice, Mr. Zombified. Yeah, who's voted already? Let me know in the chat room. Throw that in there. Let us know. It's very exciting.
This is blatantly un-American, and it's election interference, and Kamala Harris is behind it very much.
No, she's not at all.
And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And obviously, it's up to the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. But
no, it isn't. It's up to the law.
They're going to be appealing it. I think he's going to.
Why? You got the list. Just arrest anybody who votes and that doesn't have the right to. Right? If they mail in a vote, it's got to have the signature on it. It's got to have their name on it. If it comes in, it doesn't matter who they voted for, arrest them.
And they feel very strongly about it, so we'll see how it goes.
Strongly about it.
But, you have to get
Look at all these voters. I love you guys. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide. By the way, I'm Hal Sparks, the most Hal Sparks you'll ever meet in your life.
Confidence going for elections when you have decisions coming down like that where they allow people to vote?
No. That might be the problem. He's worried that people are allowed to vote. Citizens in particular are the problem group that he's worried about.
That blatantly aren't qualified to vote. That's pretty sad.
That blatantly aren't qualified. Well, then, when they show up, there'll be a little check next to their name that says they aren't a citizen. You don't even have to purge the rolls. It'll say right there.
For our country, we have enough problems with the elections.
We don't have any material problems, except that you're running, I guess.
It's about confidence. We're here today.
By the way, that's not wrong. Remember what I said about the fact that maggots don't want to vote? That's what I'm talking about. When he's like, it's about confidence. Thank you, Billy. That's what he's talking about. A bunch of maggots don't want to vote because they think it's already, they're going to rig it and steal it and rig it, and we're going to lose again, and they're all bummed out. So they're trying to. He and Mike Pillow, even though they're totally full of shit, they think they can go, oh, all right, well, maybe there's a chance we will win this. That's what he's going with. That's why he has to pretend to be ahead in the polls by a lot, because they got to have this feeling like, well, they can't steal it now. He's too far ahead, even though they obviously, if they read anything other than fucking Twitter, will notice he's not. As a matter of fact, he's behind.
In the great state of Texas, which... I like it.
Yeah, I could tell. I like it. It's great. Being here in Texas, nothing better than hanging out with Ted Cruz is really a good time.
I like it. Which under Kamala Harris has been turned into ground zero for the largest border invasion in the history of the world. You're lucky you have your governor and people.
No, I got to tell you, more people have crossed the border from Afghanistan into Iran and Pakistan both of those that have crossed our border in the last 3 years. It's just a fact.
Like Ted and Dan and all of the people, Sid. Even John, who's from a different state, but he feels the same way, or you would really have problems. But you've done an amazing job under this.
Yeah, John. John, he's from a different state, but John, that guy. Yeah, John.
Circumstances, but the federal government's supposed to be doing that job, and it should be easy, and it's not because of the people.
It's not because of the people doing business with Mexico in Texas, which is 80% of its fucking economy.
But over the past 4 years, this state has become Kamala's staging ground to import her army of migrant gangs and illegal
army of migrant gangs that are apparently here to force roof tiles onto people.
Alien criminals into every state in America.
Yeah, mainly Home Depot parking lots where people can get drywall hung and plumbing done on the cheap under the table.
And every state's a border state. You've heard that?
I have heard that, and it's just as dumb today as it was the first time I heard
it. It's true. Paving a trail of bloodshed, suffering, and death all across our land, and it's only getting worse.
It's only getting worse. It has to get worse because apparently this is not moving the needle. I keep telling people these are all murderers when I don't even know why I have to. I think the fact that they're brown should scare most of the people that vote for me, but apparently there's some sticky voters where that's not enough. So I got to bring up the Congo and act like everybody's Hannibal Lecter with like machetes for arms.
It's incredible when you look at the numbers. 21 million people at least during this 3.5 year.
Bullshit. 3. And a bunch of people left and died. The number of undocumented immigrants in the United States is about 10.3 million. Nonsense. Let me do the math for you, maggots. Okay? I know we got some maggots here. Welcome. Let me explain something to you, maggots. If you meet the same person twice, you have not met 2 people. If you meet the same person 5 times, you have not met 5 people. Do you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't work that way. Someone you've met twice does not suddenly have a twin that's never in the same room as them. Okay.
Period. And many of them, as you know, are murderers, drug dealers, people from jails. They're letting their people out of jails and bringing them right into our country. We're like a dumping ground.
Also, by the way, again, I've yet to hear a good answer as to how does this happen? So they let all these criminals out of jail, and do they immediately load them onto prison buses, drive them to the border where they are transferred to another prison bus at the edge of another country, and then those people take the bus all the way up to the U.S. border after 3 countries do this, and then they get out, and then they're given a change of clothes by the cartels while they promise not to rape, murder, sodomize, or beat anyone to death, and until they get inside the United States. Is that how it works?
What Kamala Harris has done on our border is cruel, it's vile, and it's absolutely heartless. Her policy of importing migrant gangs is a crime against our country. It's actually a crime against humanity. And
they're not importing criminal gangs. They're not. As a matter of fact, if you want to complain about Venezuelan gangs, which I'm sure he will bring up, I remind you that the last thing Donald Trump did before leaving office was to delay the deportation of Venezuelans for 1.5 years, at which time they went to the back of the line of everybody else who was being seen to be deported at some point. So even then, adding 3-4 years to their time in the country. Just saying. Specifically Venezuelans.
Her abolition.
And by the way, I'm sure there's some maggots in the chat room who don't know this. Go look it up. I would show it to you, but you'll think I found it on my own. The last thing Trump did was give a deportation enforcement order to delay it for DED, a deportation enforcement delay for 16 months, essentially. And then on top of that, again, they go to the back of the line. And because it was done under DED instead of temporary protected status, the TPS, they also don't get vetted. They just hang out.
Of our border.
They're basically given automatic asylum.
Should disqualify her for even running. I mean, I don't know how you can run.
Oh, this is the other thing, too. He does this a bunch. She should be disqualified from running. You shouldn't even be allowed to run in this situation. First of all, people say that about him about January 6th, and it's true. But on the other hand, he says this because he just wishes she would quit and give him Biden back, who he thinks he can beat. It's fucking dumb.
Run for the president of the United States and allow people to pour into our country. And we're talking about seriously criminal people, many of these people, and they come from all over the world. It's not just South America. They're coming in.
Yeah, if you're not scared of brown people, how about some really black people? That should make you worry.
From Africa, they're coming in from the Middle East. The Congo, that's a hot place right now. A lot of.
Oh, it's a hot place. Hey, why is that a hot place? Anybody know? Anybody know why? Hold on, chat room. Anybody know why the Congo is a hot place? You know why he's got Congo on the brain? Anybody? Anybody have any idea why that would be? What do you think? Why the Congo? Because it rhymes with. I think it's because it rhymes with condo. $7 million Trump building condo tied to scandal-scarred foreign leader. Gee, New York Times, what country would that be? Unit 32G, a two-bedroom, 1,767 square foot apartment with sweeping views of the park, is owned by an entity called ICRI, which bought the condo in 2014 for $7 million in cash. Documents unearthed by the nonprofit group Global Witness show that the purchase was funded by the daughter of the Republic of Congo's president, a longtime target of anti-corruption investigators. The funds for the all-cash purchase appear to have been siphoned from the country's government, according to the report by Global Witness. The purchase took place more than 2 years before Donald Trump became president. Owners of the units of Building 1 Central Park West pay tens of thousands of dollars a year in condo fees to Mr. Trump's company, the Trump Organization. They paid it, whatever. The fees are paid to Trump are not fees paid to Trump for profit, which is just silly. Of course they are. They're jacked up ridiculous. This would be the Denis Sassou Nguesso and his wife Antoinette, no shit, in Paris. This is the Congolese leader. His daughter bought the apartment for $7 million in cash at Trump Tower. I guess the Congo isn't sending their best. They're sending crime. They're sending criminals, and they're stealing money from their own people.
A lot of people coming in from prisons in the Congo. They're coming into our country.
And they just say, I'm from prison. What town are you from? Prisonville.
It's not even believable, actually.
You're right. It's not believable. This is the problem. Okay, it's unbelievable. Fuck, man. Learn to talk. Saying this is unbelievable means you can't believe it. Saying it's not believable sounds like you don't even believe your own bullshit. It sounds like somebody gave you these talking points and you're like, this can't be right. This is going to turn out to be fake. And it is. It's not believable. That's why I can't say unbelievable, because he's fucking dumb. It's.
When you think, you're standing up here, you're saying this stuff, John Barrasso, but you're saying this, and you say to yourself, is it even believable?
No, it's not.
It's sort of like, actually in a smaller way, but still very important, men playing in women's sports. Who would want that? But, 10 years ago.
Oh, by the way, anytime he starts losing his crowd, and this is happening early because it's a small crowd and they're very quiet. So anytime he starts losing his crowd, his case of emergency break glass move is anti-trans bigotry. He also does some anti-gay stuff when he calls Anderson Cooper Allison Cooper later on because gay, right? He just, anytime his audience is flagging, all you got to do is bash some gays and you got them back.
10 years ago, you would never say that, and then you have the transgender operations all over the place, and
all over the place. I'm afraid to open a door if I don't know what's behind it, because, especially, penis first.
you're saying this, and you have parental guidance, and we want our child to be parentally guided.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we want. We have parental guidance, and we want our children to be parentally guided. What? Oh, real quick. Again.
Place, and you're saying this, and you have parental guidance, and we want our child to be parentally guided, and you have to make apologies for the fact that they're not, but they're going to be, and we're going to bring.
You have to make apologies for the fact that they're not. What? I'm sorry, that the parents are not guiding their children, so we owe them an apology for not parenting their kids. What?
That back. We want our parents.
By the way, and people start applauding at the end of the statement because they kind of know what he means. They mean like parental control over their education, or they want, without. I think, yeah, he's probably saying like parental approval, or parents being made aware of what's going on, if they've got a kid at school who's trans, and they're saying the teachers are not obligated to tell the parents, because what if they tell the wrong parent and the parent kills the kid, right? That's basically why. That's the biggest reason. It isn't because of some, blanket woke idea. It's that the parents should know their own fucking kids. If you don't know your kids getting dressed up at school, this is like when Catholic schoolgirls would change out of their uniforms once they got to school, or they fucking or high school girls who have a dress code at home change when they get to school so they can wear, whatever, they were dressing like Madonna with their bra outside their shirt at school, shit like that when I was in high school, right? Yeah. So this is just, I don't even know. First of all, he doesn't like parenting. He didn't give a shit about parenting when he, with his kids. It's women's work anyways.
But you're saying this, and you say to yourself, is it even believable? It's sort of like, actually in a smaller way, but still very important, men playing in women's sports. Who would want that? But, 10 years ago, you would never say that.
Also, by the way, trans women are not men. They may be biologically male at birth, and they may be transitioning in their, in their presentation to the world. I mean, there's a lot of ways to talk about it. None of them are offensive because, by the way, if anybody tells you that someone not honoring your pronouns or calling you a name or something diminishes you as a human being or takes away your humanity, that person is not your friend. You can take it. You're strong. You're more than that. And this asshole calling you a name or someone screwing up their description in some ways is not going to destroy who you are. You're worthwhile. We're lucky to have you here. Please be the best version of yourself. And so say I. Just to clarify that. Anybody who's like, if they don't say your pronouns, they're basically saying you're not human. And to wit, the answer the other person on your other side, who is your true friend, would be, and who gives a fuck? Because you obviously are. I love you. Don't worry about that. And don't listen to this dickhead.
And then you have the transgender operations all over the place. And you're saying this, and you have parental guidance, and we want our child to be parentally guided. And you have to make apologies for the fact that they're not, but they're going to be, and we're going to bring that back. We want our parents. We want our parents.
Look at this dude. He's like, okay, yeah. End of statement, clap. I don't even know what the fuck.
But, if you go back 10 years or 15 years ago, if you ever made a speech like that, they'd say, this guy's crazy. What is he talking?
Oh, we still are. Yeah, you're a fucking lunatic. Yeah. You're talking about 0.05% of the populace like our social problems are their fucking fault. Eat shit, you lunatic.
Talking about those things would never happen, and they didn't happen until a certain time ago with the radical left. No person who was...
A certain time ago? When was that? What the fuck? During, I don't know, when the World According to GARP came out?
Responsible for so much bloodshed on our own soil can ever be allowed to become president of the United States. And I think she's coming here today. She doesn't want to go to a swing state because she's losing so badly in those.
She doesn't want to go to a swing state? Sorry. Hey, asshole, you're the one that goes to safe states. What are you talking about? You're both going to swing states all over the place. You're the one that doesn't go to any blue states. She's coming to your district, motherfucker. She's going to put Colin Allred over the top. You're in a fucking factory like run by some bigot that you know personally who hires people under the table to work fucking nights with 150 fucking people in it. And she's in a goddamn stadium with Beyonce, who's from Houston.
So she decided to come to Texas.
Right. What again? Asshole, why would you think that's a dunk? It sounds like she thinks she's got those swing states in the bag and she's making you defend territory. Have you ever played anything more than checkers?
And I'm sure she'll be treated very nicely. Today, she picked the wrong place. I think she picked the wrong place. What do I know about politics? I haven't done it that long, actually.
You've done it far too long. Far too long. Because again, what I know about politics, never mind the fact that he ran for office and he became president, yada, yada. But this asshole took out a full-page ad in the New York Times against the Central Park Five. He's been arguing this anti-immigrant bigot bullshit, which never seems to include fines and jail time for the people hiring them. That's weird. That seems odd to me. That seems like something that would stand out as hypocritical or lacking in actual action. But he's been doing that shit forever. I mean, you could argue that he's been in politics as long as he was trying to say that Obama wasn't born here. So fuck him.
But today, Kamala is here in Texas to rub shoulders with woke celebrities. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, boo Beyonce and Willie Nelson. Sure.
But she's not going to meet with any of the victims of migrant crime while she's here. We have many of them right here, the families. We have many of them. And they're incredible people, what they've gone through, the hell that they've gone through, and will continue to go through, unfortunately.
That's the spirit.
She'll not speak to the grieving mothers from whom she has stolen the brightest light in their life. She was in charge of this border, and she doesn't.
Hold on, asshole. Literally, this poor woman right here, lost her daughter to a Venezuelan gang member whose deportation was delayed without any kind of vetting by this motherfucker. The TPS, temporary protected status, means they do the work to look into your background and that kind of stuff. You could be denied TPS. DED just means we don't even look for a certain amount of time because your country is so fucked up that we're not sending anybody back there. We're just going to assume no matter what that that you'll meet your end. You'll be killed. And Haitians, that's why there's a bunch of Haitians in Springfield and in other places. And the same thing was true of Venezuelans in theory under this guy. But he just put a fucking pause on it for a year and a half. They don't even have to, under DED, they don't even look. Under temporary protected status, they do. And so later that year, the Biden administration started going through these groups, mixing them in and converting their DED status to TPS status as they started vetting them, as the time ran out. So as soon as the year and a half ran out, or the period of a year and a half from when they might have entered the country, many of which entered under Trump, which might be as early as 6 months, they were able to start looking at some of these people who'd been there a year and a half. They were taking it quite literally so they could look at them sooner. Some of them got TPS, a lot of them got kicked out. Some of them had come in right as he was there, right in January, and stayed through because you couldn't even look at him for a year and a half.
Doesn't like being called border czar anymore. She didn't mind it almost 4 years ago, but now.
Also, almost 4 years ago, what are you talking about? When the news called her that? Nobody called her that in the administration. We don't have a border czar.
Now she doesn't like it, but you don't need that term. She was in charge of the border. She never came here. And
also, she was not in charge of the border. her job specifically was to stem the tide of illegal migrants coming from South America by working with the governments down there and seeing how they could do it, which worked. That's one of the reasons why the volume of people went down.
She never made one call to these people behind me or anybody in the group. Not one call. She's in charge. She deals with Border Patrol. She hasn't made, Paul, not even.
She's not in charge. She doesn't deal with Border Patrol. That's Mayorkas.
Not one call in 4 years. So we're joined today by Texas.
Also, she's the vice president. The president does that and did.
Mom, Alexis Nungary from Houston, a great woman. This past June, thank you. Great one. Where is Alexis? Where is she?
Yeah. She's right there. She's been standing there the whole time. She's the person you're going to talk to. You shook her hand as soon as you walked on stage. She is the only young woman with tattoos all the way up to her knuckles on the stage. She is actually in the exact same position as the head of Doral, the mayor of Doral was when you couldn't find her yesterday.
Come up here, Alexis. Come up here. So this past June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious angel, as you say, Jocelyn, we all called her that. We feel we know Jocelyn, and she's had,
oh, do we?
Had a big impact, Alexis. You know that, right? She's had a big impact. Walked to a nearby convenience store. Jocelyn was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted, and I'm not going any further than that. I'm standing with the mother, and horrible things happened to her, to that young.
Jesus, then shut up.
Young, beautiful.
You can just say they lost her. She'll say what she wants to say, you fucking cretin.
That young, beautiful girl. And the animals arrested for Jocelyn's barbaric murder are 2 illegal aliens believed to be members of the savage Venezuelan prison gang known as Tren de Aragua.
By the way, there's a couple of things. One is, of course, that he paused the deportation of Venezuelans as his final act as president for a year and a half. And everybody who was in that group, they went to the back of the line. Again, so a lot of them were still being processed behind everybody else. So while they're processing Guatemalans and Mexicans and other people that have come into the country illegally, the Venezuelans were put at the back of the group. And that's why we need more judges to adjudicate these cases, see if anybody's got a genuine asylum claim, that kind of stuff, especially in countries like Haiti and Venezuela, where there's unrest and there's a reason why legally people don't get sent back. Okay, so never mind that, like, it's just fucking gross. The other upside is that MS-13 is very easy for Trump to say. So that's one of the reasons why he kept saying it. But now it's Tren de Aragua. And watching him try to barf that out is fairly hilarious most of the time.
Venezuelan prison gang known as Tren de Aragua. And they're all over the place now. They're all over our country. They were in Aurora, but Aurora's now the least of it. They've taken over buildings.
I love that. By the way, Aurora's now the least of it because they couldn't find anybody because it turned out to be bullshit. Yeah, it's so much the least of it, it's not it at all. Hold on, by the way. It's also Tren de Aragua. So this is the, where are we? Here we go. This is what they're talking about in this. What is Tren de Aragua? The Venezuelan gang may be linked to an execution-style killing in Connecticut. This is recent. This is 2024, where they're talking about this. These two, he's 22, he's 24. They've been charged in connection with a homicide in Stamford and may have ties to the Venezuelan gang. Again, may have. We don't know. Angel Samaniego, a 59-year-old Stamford resident who was found sitting in a chair, his arms crossed, legs duct taped, had been beaten, suffering blunt force trauma to the head, medical examiner ruled, and had been fatally shot in the chest, according to warrants for the 2 people arrested in connection with the homicide. A housekeeper at the hotel, Super 8 on the city's west side, found him 12 hours after 2 people were seen leaving the hotel with 2 children in tow. The pair, Moises Alejandro Candoyo Orenea, and he's 22, and Gregory Marlon Galindez Trias, 24, were arrested a few days later at a city outside of Albany, New York. According to the arrest affidavit, the couple were in possession of a bloodstained note with Samanyego's credit card information. Police allege the pair also made off with his car, which investigators said ended up in Detroit, Michigan. There is certainly at this point a strong suspicion the defendant participated in what this court would describe as an execution. These guys are not facing homicide-related charges, and police have not said if they are involved in the man's death or how they knew him. Before they were extradited to Connecticut, the couple were arraigned in upstate, let's see, expressed concern about the Venezuelan gang during her hearing. The arrest, speaking through a Spanish court translator, Galinde Trias said she was afraid of what the gang might do because she was arrested. That's why they think they were, maybe forced to kill the guy or something like that on behalf of this. Over the past 6 years, Tren de Aragua leader Nino Guerrero has expanded the group's criminal network throughout South America and recently extended north into Central America and the United States. The State Department said taking over territory from other folks or whatever. But they've been moving up through Central America, and now it has come to the United States, said Ken Gray, a retired FBI agent, a distinguished lecturer in the Department of Criminal Justice at the University of New Haven. The group was founded in 2009, he said, but only became a problem in the U.S. in the last 2 years. The group drew national attention earlier this year when a video of armed men in an apartment in Aurora, Colorado, led to claims that Tren de Aragua had taken over the complex. The claim was picked up by Trump, who said it was taking over the whole town. It turned out not to be true, whatever. In August 20th statement, Aurora police said they were aware of complaints of TDA are operating in Aurora, but that based on their investigation, they believe reports the group's influence were isolated. They have been moving with migrants as they move up through Central America. Wherever they come into, they establish their dominance as a gang. The group is involved in everything from sex and human trafficking to smuggling, extortion, and running drugs. They're all in resources. And this is, they're basically fighting with another cartel and taking over, part of it. So as Mexico gentrifies Central America, is increasingly, are increasing the. Detroit has been charged. Okay, yeah. Are increasingly taking over. Central American gangs are pushing through that as Mexico gentrifies and gets more, kind of standardized jobs. So, think here. That's why he's talking about Tren de Aragua.
Things in Aurora, the government, a radical left Democrat, weak person, doesn't know quite what to do. He's always got a big mouth when he talks about other things, but he has no idea what to do.
Yeah, well, apparently, he'd be punching ghosts.
And they have weapons of military grade. You say, how did they get those weapons? These monsters were in Border Patrol custody, but under a program Kamala Harris created to abolish detention for fighting-aged men, whatever that means.
It's the same as roofing-aged men and plumbing-aged men and construction worker-aged men. Also, the reason, what do you mean, whatever that means? Fighting age men is what your side calls any adult male who's under the age of 60 and over the age of 9 who enters the country and happens to be browner than beige.
And give them free and automatic entry into the United States. The killers were released.
No, they don't.
Into our country, and Alexis, we cannot begin to imagine your pain. And if you'd like to say a few words, would you like to? Would you? Thank you. Thank you, darling.
Hold on. Wait. Wait a minute. Did he fucking point the mic down as she was... So he's got the mic. He literally, points it at his dick when she walks up there?
Would you? Thank you. Thank you, darling.
What part of the mic do you talk into, you fucking tool? What the hell? Well, let's watch that again. Jesus Christ. This woman lost her daughter.
Say a few words. Would you like to?
Watch this.
Would you? Thank you. Thank you, darling.
He doesn't even point it up at her. Point pointed towards her fucking mouth. What the hell? What part of a mic does he think you speak into? Is it just the whole fuzzy black part of it? It doesn't matter what direction? Does he have no fucking idea?
I want to thank everybody for...
Jesus Christ. And now her voice is so quiet. You know, like we can hear it to some degree, but like at that event, it's going to be even quieter.
Donald Trump really for the opportunity to
hear them turning it up. Jesus.
Be able to say my daughter's story. I know everybody knows somebody that was like her. She was 12. She was going to be a 7th grader. Preteens, they think they're invincible. And she was just being a child. And due to the Biden-Harris policies we have here, are why she's not here anymore. She was taken from her vulnerability, and
all right, I gotta say, this woman's been through something horrible. So even though I totally disagree with her take on it, and I could probably pick apart her argument, I'm not going there. This is the weird part to me.
So I want to thank you, Alexis, and we will never forget Jocelyn. We're not going to. We've all seen her pictures.
He won't know her name in a week.
It's blazed into our minds, and the violence and viciousness, and nobody calls, nobody talks. And we have many others like that.
Nobody calls, nobody talks.
13 soldiers that were killed so horribly.
Oh, you're going to Afghanistan?
In Afghanistan, nobody called them. No,
yes, they did.
Nobody calls them.
Yes, they do.
But certain people they call, but they don't call them.
Oh yeah? What certain people do they call? What are you, people who are in jail for shoplifting? Do they get a booster call from the administration? Is that what you think? In San Francisco? Is that where we're going with this horse shit?
They weren't called. They weren't treated properly. They were treated very badly, actually. And many others, including some of the people in this room, nobody calls. I don't know. Just from a human standpoint, I call. It's like you can't do much because it's done. We could have done much if we were running things, Ted. We would have had.
You did do something. You did. Don't sell yourself short. You did do something. You put a moratorium on deportations of Venezuelans your last day in office for at least 1.5 years. At which time they went to the back of the line of the backed up people that were going through the process that we don't have enough judges and officers and lawyers for to start with. So you added, you gave, what you did was you allowed those people to stay in the country unlawfully for 4 years minimum. It's almost as if you knew that some of them would cause some damage and you could run on it later.
With strong borders, we would have had all the things, at least they would have had a real good chance of not having been caught up in this crime wave that's happening.
Does anybody bring up to him the moratorium he put on Venezuelan deportations in the press? Has anybody asked him about this? And again, I don't think, hold on. Trump, last day in office, Venezuelans. Just in case anybody's, let's see, there you go. There you go. Trump grants Venezuelans temporary legal status on his way out. The U.S. will defer for 18 months the removal of certain Venezuelan nationals. And that is anybody who's in the country as of the day he leaves. That's the certain. All you got to do is already be here. Yeah. Also, how do you prove? How do you prove if they're not in legally and you haven't processed them, they came across the border, they can go, hey, I've been in here since December. And then they get to stay. They get put on, and I'm from Venezuela. That's the thing. And he's using the Deferred Enforcement Departure Program, which is lovely, DED, as opposed to the TPS. because, and by the way, because Maduro is a prick, right? Because he did it because Maduro is dangerous and terrible and, oh. What are the odds? What are the odds? Okay. Again, does anybody, any maggots, are there any maggots in here that don't know this? Do ya? Republicans of any sort, of any ilk, are you not aware that this was the last thing he did? This is his last official act as president. He literally saved it to the last. You know why? Because that's when the clock starts. He gave him the longest stretch he could possibly. If he'd have done it in November, it would have shaved off a couple of months, right? Or he could have done it. Shit, he could have done it in the middle of COVID if he wanted to. But he waited until his last day in office to make it the longest stretch he could possibly give it, so that it was at least 2022, middle of 2022, late 2022, around August, that they could even start, you know, adding people to the rolls to be processed. And maybe this is it. Maggots, do you just not know this? Are you just, is this just one of those details that just slipped by? I mean, you love the dude. You ought to know his record. You know what I mean? You celebrate him. You think the sun shines out of his ass. It's how you get an orange tan. So shouldn't you know that?
It's a crime wave. The number of people coming in, we have no idea what the number is. I say 21 million. A lot of people think it's more than that.
Nobody thinks it's more than that. It's half that. It's not even half that. There's half of that in the country, period. 20 million people did not cross the fucking border in the last 3 years. Didn't happen. The same 3 million people came over a bunch of times.
And then you start talking about the gotaways. I think the gotaways could be, Dan, double that. Who knows what it is?
Yeah, yes, that's right. There's 80 million new people in here, and nobody can fucking find them. There's 80 million new people here, and what does that work out to? 30,000 in Springfield, Ohio, and 100,000 in New York City? And the rest of them are what, just peppered evenly?
Running into the country. We have no idea that we call them from parts. I call them from parts unknown.
Why? Well, then stop saying you know. You can't say parts unknown and Congo and prisons and jails, and we know they're dumping them, and Venezuela and Guatemala. If they're parts unknown, you have no fucking idea.
As of 2 weeks ago, Tom Homan told me it was 181 countries were represented.
We finally got one more country. It's been 180 for as long as since he learned there's 180 questions. Now there's 181. What was the one? What do you think? Did they swim here from the Philippines?
And people pouring in, so it's no longer just a.
Doug, it's your fault, isn't it, Doug? On Facebook, you got 20,000 in your garage. You can't do that. I mean, they're all on welfare. They're destroying Social Security by paying into it and never getting a check.
A small group of people from the 3 or 4 countries that we're accustomed to talking about in an interview.
Right, because it's boring now. You can't just say Guatemala and, you know, and whatever, Honduras and Venezuela and Mexico. We've heard it. It just, you know, it's like, it's can't even get a half chub when you talk about that. You know, a racism chub.
Last week, Kamala Harris was asked directly if she would apologize to Alexis for letting in the savage killer that took
Yeah, but she can't apologize on your behalf.
Jocelyn's life, and Kamala Harris refused to take any responsibility whatsoever. She refused to own up to the fact that open borders, and totally unchecked. It's not even open borders. Open borders are horrible, and how stupid are they? How stupid. We're the only country in the world that has this.
We don't have this. We don't have this. Just for the record, like, we don't have this. We don't have an open border. We don't.
They don't even check them. They don't vet them. They don't know who they are.
Yeah, okay, they don't check some Venezuelans because you gave them special protection. They check everybody else out. Otherwise, how the fuck do you know? How would you know they're coming from mental institutions? Where are you getting information, and why aren't you sharing it with the Department of Homeland Security? You seem to know what mental institutions and what countries they're coming from, and then you say we don't know. Why don't we know? Just fucking stupid.
They don't know where they're going. They just come in, and then they fly them over, you know? When the border got a little bit tougher because people were getting angry and we had citizens standing at the border.
That's the other thing, too, is that the numbers have dropped. So now they have this fantastical story that they're telling that Harris and Biden are flying migrants in because the numbers of people at the border has dropped because of the work she did dealing with those countries and the shift away from Title 42, which fucked up the whole thing. Title 42 is to blame for all the recidivism and the volume of people crossing the border, because you could kick people out and they could come back across and there was no mark on their record because they were never processed. They never had due process, so they can say, I was never adjudicated. I have a legit asylum claim and I should be allowed in if they're ever, if they're finally put through the system. You keep just kicking them out without doing that. You can't legally say they don't have a right to be here until you adjudicate the claim. So every time you kick them out, they come back through, and then you kick them out, they come back through, and they kick them out, and they come back through, and then you finally have to adjudicate their claim. It turns out that they were an asylum seeker and they actually have a legit asylum claim. They end up staying, but they've crossed into the country 5 or 6 times. How can Gen X like a mofo? You have no idea. Yeah. Also, let's see. Yeah, there we go.
Wanting to do, and then they get in trouble because they want to do the job the federal government's supposed to be doing. But she refused to own up to it. And last night she said she wants to make strong borders. I mean, what she did last night and the night before, the town hall with...
Also, again... What they're calling him on is the border bill. He killed the border bill. I think even in, at one point, I may have seen it I don't know if it was this event. It was another one where there was a clip online of him basically saying that he, I don't know, that if you could do anything, you should do it because it's an emergency. I'm like, well, then let the border bill fucking pass.
Cooper was just unbelievable. Allison Cooper got so angry.
Yeah, oh, there it is. So that's the Allison Cooper part. That's where, when in doubt, when you're boring your crowd, make an anti-gay joke. And look at her smirking at the Allison thing. Look at this dude. But
think of it.
He's wanting to laugh, but is uncomfortable about it. You can see him kind of doing this or whatever. And she smirks at the Allison Cooper thing. Seriously. Seriously? Allison Cooper.
Think of it. Never an apology, never a phone call to anybody. To anybody. So thank you very much, Alexis. We're going to get this thing straightened out. We're going to get it straightened out. We got to get it straightened out. Just from the standpoint of a heart. No calls, none, nothing. Worst of all, Kamala.
No calls, none, nothing. It's just gibberish, whatever. It's so stupid.
Refuses to stop importing these killers into our country every day.
Also, importing these killers like it's an active measure. This is the great replacement theory horseshit.
She brings in more. She's got no remorse at all for the innocent blood that's on her hands, and the blood is on her hands, and Biden too, but Biden doesn't know where the hell he is, so what difference? I just saw him. He's making a speech somewhere.
Oh, by the way, yeah, he does. He's apologizing to the native nations for the atrocities against the children that were on the northern states like Wyoming and North Dakota and places like that are similar to what was happening in Canada. He was actively making a presidential apology, getting that on the record today.
And he screwed it up pretty badly. But he's got his glasses, the whole deal, standing outside, wind blowing. He doesn't look great for us. He doesn't look, that's not what we want. That's not what we want. President.
Jesus Christ. Dude, if you're going to criticize someone being old or lethargic or not looking great or whatever, I got to say, you got to bring at least your, I don't know, D+ game? What the fuck? It doesn't look, he barely says a thing and about the thing, and he's not really doing it. It's not good. It never is. And he doesn't look handsome. Hair looks stupid. It's a thing. Yeah.
And she used to look at him, and still does, I guess, right? But he used to just, he just said, this makes me so happy, he says.
This makes me so happy, he says, Xi Jinping. This is his Cro-Magnon voice that he does for foreigners all the time. No. Xi Jinping is shitting his pants right now. His economy is collapsing. That's why he and they're throwing this like big BRICS party for themselves, trying to sucker people into this horseshit.
And Putin and the whole group, Kim Jong.
The whole group.
Jong-un. They're tough guys out there. They're tough and they're smart and they're streetwise and
they're idiots. They're sycophants. They're psychopaths. They brutalize people around them. They kill their own. They're, by and large, sexual sadists. Fuck them.
They're at the top of their game, and we don't.
No, they're not. And by the way, if you think this is the top of their game, I think they would be mad at you.
Don't have that. That's very nice. Thank you. What a good line that is. That she said, that's why we have you. Thank you very much. Wow.
What? That's why we have you, because they're at the top of their game, and that's why we have you. Because, I'm sorry, he's at the top of his game? No. Also, he's not president. Can't actually do anything, I think, except violate the Logan Act, it seems.
You know that woman? You know that woman? That's very good. Thank you. It's very nice. Thank you very much.
It's very nice. It's good. Thank you. He thinks I'm great. Anyways, you know her? It's good. Okay. Whew!
2 days ago, she said she could not think of any mistakes that she's made. She was asked a question. Can you think of anything that you would do different?
Dude. First of all, no. She asked what you would do different from the president. He's still this current sitting president who is negotiating on behalf of the United States on a myriad of issues. You don't second guess him as your VP. You don't do it. And she specifically came out and said, you don't criticize as a VP, you don't criticize your president. It's a good rule of thumb. That's fine. Trump, on the other hand, has still yet to say he would do anything. The only thing he says he would do differently is not hire the shitty people he hired because other people suggested it, right?
Can you think of any mistakes that you've made? No, actually,
suggest those people.
She couldn't think of it. It's about as good. She could say, I would have strengthened the border, I would have lowered taxes, there are about 500 answers she could give, and you're out of that question, right?
Yeah, except she's vice president.
She couldn't think of a thing. You know, the worst of all, really, is 325,000 young children are possibly dead, but many of them are dead, but they're sex slaves, or...
Bullshit.
At a minimum, they're missing. They'll never see their...
No, not at all true. He's talking about the same 80,000 calls made over and over every year with a rotating group of people who age out or no longer under the watch of them or have been, or people don't pick up the phone and they just reach one phone call. Hi, is Rosario there? Click. That's it. That's the missing child.
Parents again, most likely. We'll do everything we can when we come back. I don't know. It's
bullshit. You didn't do anything when you were in there. You don't want to do anything. Here's what you want to do. The reason they want to find those kids allegedly, which by the way, they don't need to be found there with their sponsors, or they just are living healthfully in a home, or they've moved back to their own home country, or they've been deported with the rest of their family, or whatever the hell. There's a bunch of different reasons. But the only reason he wants to know where they are and find those kids is so he can kick them out of the country. Period. This applies to DACA as well.
Very far down the line. We're going to do everything we can to get them. But think of what that number represents, Dan. 325,000, and the fake news media doesn't even talk about it.
They do talk about it. They talk about it like I just talked about it and go, you're out of your fucking mind. It's a made up number. You took a number and then you extrapolated it year for year and then you doubled it and then have been walking around talking out of your ass. They don't have to respond to every like made up number you shit out onto a podium.
If that were a Republican instead, it would be
Unstead? A Republican Unstead. Hi, it's a Republican Unstead. Why, oh, why? All right.
the biggest scandal in history. It would be the equivalent news media doesn't even talk about it. If that were a Republican instead.
Unstead. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new word. Unstead.
It would be the biggest scandal in history. It would be the equivalent of nothing else.
It would be the equivalent of nothing else. Sure. It would be the equivalent of nothing else. Anyways, you were saying something about how Harris can't string two sentences together and Biden doesn't know where he is?
And they don't even talk about it. They cannot talk about 325,000 for you people.
You people. Yikes. Okay. By the way, hold on one second, if I may. Fact check. Trump claims 325 migrants were flown in from parts unknown. Again, this is a weird one too, because I think he just mixed up his other questions. Oh, this is a different one. Hold on one second, because he mixes up his lies. So I think they're like let's see. There you go. Hold on one second. Let's find this real quick. Here it is. Let's see if we find this. Fact check. Did Kamala Harris lose more than 325,000 migrant children? No, she did not. Just going to the border. When they did this, Trump went after her this week at a rally in Philadelphia. At a speech in Indiana, he said that she'd lost more than 325,000 migrant children. They're gone. Nobody knows where they are. Many of them are dead. Many of them are sex trade. Many of them are dead. They've been trafficked. They've been raped. 325,000 children are missing. The facts. Donald Trump's claim is wrong with some caveats. It appears his claim is based on an August 2024 audit by the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General, which uncovered U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement statistics on unaccompanied migrant children, UCs, between fiscal year 2019 and 2023. Again, this includes 2 years of Trump. ICE transferred over 448,000 unaccompanied children to the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Refugee Resettlement, after apprehension by the Department of Homeland Security. The children were transferred by ICE to ORR. ORR handles the care and custody of these children awaiting immigration hearings. Care and custody, including placing children in shelters or with a sponsor. ICE is responsible for managing immigration cases, and the audit showed the agency struggled to monitor the whereabouts of many of these children after their release from ORR custody. This is when they go back to being processed. ICE reported more than 32,000 children had failed to appear for scheduled immigration court hearings between 2019 and 2023. 32,000 of the 480,000 so on. ICE also failed to serve notices to appear on 291,000 children, leaving them without scheduled court dates and outside the formal immigration process. Now you'll notice, ICE also failed to serve notices to appear on 291,000, leaving them without scheduled court dates. This is not missing children. This is ICE not saying, hey, this is your date to show up. And a bunch of these folks, the kids didn't show up because they were never told when to show up or where to show up. The more than 325,000 figure appears to be a combination of the 291 who had not been issued a court date and the 32,000 who did not appear for scheduled dates, off by a couple of thousand. Crucially, the main figure in the focus, 32,000 children who missed their court date. The audit noted that ICE was not able to account for the location of UCs who were released by HHS and did not appear as scheduled in immigration court. The audit also said that the failure to send an NTA could limit the chances of maintaining contact when children are released from ORR custody, adding ICE did not always inform ORR about the failure to appear in court, which means that this 32,000, the kids who didn't show up for their date, and this 291,000 who they know they didn't give court dates to, could be overlap. 32,000 of these 291,000, they thought they'd sent them a notice and they hadn't. Same fucking people. They thought they'd sent 32,000 notices to the 291 and they just had not. See how that works? It's not in addition to 291 and 32,000. It's that this number might even be subject to a subtraction of this one or an overlap of this one. They know they didn't, they didn't send 259,000 notices, but they thought they sent 32,000 notices for these dates. The audit also, and that's where the audit also said the failure to send an NTA could limit the chances of maintaining contact when children are released from ORR custody, adding ICE did not always inform ORR about the failure to appear in court. Similarly, when ICE does not share information with HHS regarding UCs who did not appear in the hearings, HHS personnel are unable to determine if UCs need wellness checks or post-release services for individuals at an increased risk of being trafficked. And that's they generalized numbers that certain kids out of certain countries, they mark as increased risk of being trafficked. Like, for example, if they live within 6 blocks of Matt Gaetz's house. Nestor. Without an ability to monitor the location and status of UCs, ICE has no assurance UCs are safe from trafficking, exploitation, or forced labor. Okay, that's not the same as they're being sold or they have been sold. It's just they have no way of making sure they aren't. Should they? Yes. Should there be a bigger system? Absolutely. Would the border bill have added workers for that particular case? Uh-huh. Did Trump do anything about raising the number of people to deal with UCs at all during his presidency? Of course not. All right. However, Trump combined the figures, even though the audit did not say that the 291,000 who had not been issued an NTA were lost. The report also does not say that ICE could not find all 32,000 children who had not appeared in court. ICE is not a child welfare authority either. As explained here in a previous Newsweek article, fact checks, unaccompanied minors are placed into the care of sponsors, if available, which ORR is meant to monitor. So ICE loses track of these people because it's not their job to fucking track them. It's ORR's job. The Office of Refugee Resettlement. That's why, Kamala Harris lost them. Okay, you're saying ICE lost them. And ICE's job is not to monitor children. ORR is. They get moved to that. This is the same thing we ran into with the fucking 13,099 murderers that are in the country that have come here over 40 years, not the last 3 years, and aren't, they're listed as not detained because they're in federal prisons. ICE doesn't detain them, so they're listed as not detained, but they are currently serving time. It's fucking stupid. This asshole has, there's not 325,000 missing kids, you fucking dumbass.
Are missing, think of that, are missing. And
think of that, my dumbass, half-assed Jedi mind trick. Think of that. What, do you think you're some kind of Jedi or something?
Probably will never be seen again, most of them. But we're going to do the best we can. It's a tough assignment. But most of them, they're probably dead.
No, they're not. No, they're not 300,000 and, 319,000 dead fucking kids in the country. You absolute prick.
Under Border Czar Harris, there are 13,099 illegal aliens convicted of murder.
Okay, we've been through this before, but we'll do it again. Under Border Czar Harris, I'm okay. It's going to be all right. the 13,000, let's see, okay, here we go. Let's go to the, since the Washington Post has caught some shit lately, let's go to their thing. Trump's outrageously false claim of 13,000 migrant murderers on the loose. Okay, so number one, 13,099. Number two, over the course of 40 years. Number three, ICE does not maintain detainment figures on people that are in federal and state prison. These people are by and large in federal penitentiaries, serving time for violent crimes and murder, okay? Of different sorts, not even that they're all murderers, but violent crime. And those folks, we don't, again, Trump's brilliant plan is if we convict a migrant of murder, we just give them a free plane ticket home. Can you imagine the assassination industry we could put in place on behalf of the fucking cartels or even foreign governments that hate us? Hey, are you from Iran and want to murder some American citizens? Well, come on over, because we got an open border apparently, or fly in on a fucking visa pretending you have asylum and then run around setting fires in the Northeast and places like that. And then when you're done committing small acts of sabotage, just stab a couple of people and we'll try you for murder and give you a plane ticket home where you can start all over again under a new identity. What the fuck? Okay. So, the facts. September 25th, my birthday, Acting Immigration Customs Enforcement Director P.J. Leckleitner, that's fun, responded to a request from Tony Gonzalez for the data on the number of non-citizens with criminal conviction on ICE's non-detained docket. As of July 21st, he wrote, there were 662,566 people with criminal histories, convicted or pending, not detained by ICE. In a breakdown by crime, he noted that 13,099 people convicted of homicide were not detained by ICE. 2 days later, Gonzalez tweeted the letter, highlighting the number of killers Americans deserve to be safe in our own communities. He wrote, his tweet was immediately interpreted by right-wing media and the Trump campaign, saying that these killers entered the country during the Biden administration and were on the loose, roaming the country. But the letter did not say that these criminals were not in custody. The non-detained docket refers only to individuals not detained by ICE. In fact, in the same letter, Leckleitner told Gonzalez that ICE's detention capacity was 41,500 beds, showing there was not enough space to house those criminals. As of July 21st, 277 beds were occupied by convicted killers. The Supreme Court ruled in 2001 that ICE could not detain people indefinitely. So, with so little space available at ICE detention centers, many criminals convicted of serious crimes are shipped to another facility to serve out their terms. Some non-citizens on the non-detained docket may participate in the agency's Alternatives to Detention program. That's like shoplifting, shit like that, which generally track people with GPS monitoring devices, a SmartLink phone app. These are, but murderers would not qualify. 2021 Biden administration memo made detention a priority for non-citizens who pose a current threat to public safety. 2021 administration memo. Let's take a look at that in a moment. Moreover, these non-citizens include people who entered the country legally with a long-term non-immigrant visa or earned permanent U.S. residency but were convicted of a crime. So not only are these people not illegals in the country, they are legally in the country in some cases, committed murder, and now they're in fucking prison. There's no breakdown about how many of the non-detained docket entered the country illegally, but one can assume, as Trump does, that these are all undocumented immigrants. The letter also did not say when the people on the list entered the country. The data in this letter is being misinterpreted. The data goes back decades. It includes individuals who entered the country over the past 40 years or more. The vast majority of those whose custody determination was made long before this administration. It also includes many who are under the jurisdiction of currently incarcerated by federal, state, or local law enforcement partners. That's it. Give it up for them, ladies and gentlemen. We've reached the end of the big dum-dum. Lisa, I have covered this half a dozen times, but he keeps bringing it up, and I'm going to keep doing it. It's like the fucking VA Choice Act of 2014. This motherfucker, lately especially, has kept, I don't know why he thinks it's okay, but this dipshit keeps telling people that he signed, here you go, that he signed the VA Choice Act into law. He did not. President Obama signs bill to give the VA the resources it needs. There you go. Earlier today, President Obama traveled to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, to sign a reform bill giving the Department of Veterans Affairs the necessary resources to improve access and quality of care for the men and women who've served our country in uniform. In remarks for the bill, Obama addressed the misconduct that's taken place at some VA facilities across the country, veterans being denied the care they need, or long wait times being covered up. This is wrong. It was outrageous, and working together, we set out to fix it, do right by our veterans across the board, no matter how long it took. The VA reform bill, officially the Veterans Access to Care Through Choice, Accountability, and Transparency Act of 2014, also known as the VA Choice Act of 2014, was signed into law, no shocker, in 2014 by Barack Hussein Obama.
That were released from jails and prisons and penitentiaries. Penitentiaries, and they were set loose into the United States of America.
They were set loose? What do they do? When they climb out a window of the prison and there's like a fucking water slide that takes them straight to El Paso? Fuck are you talking about? Honestly.
America, we're like a garbage can. We're like a garbage can. First time I said it was last night.
By the way, in case you're sitting in the back and you're in that hashtag uncommitted bullshit crowd, Trump just told Netanyahu when he spoke to him, illegally, by the way, in violation of the Logan's Act, that when he gets into office, you'll do what you'll have to do to Palestine, to the Palestinians. Do what you have to do. That's the phrase. He's called them cancer. He's called them the problem. And now he's told Netanyahu to do what you have to do. If you see somebody who's like, I'm a Democrat Muslim who's no longer but full, first of all, they're full of shit. But secondly, understand that these people they're either Sunni and view these people as Shia or vice versa. And they're like, you know what? Fuck them. I'm on the side of the Israelis in this part. I'm basically on the side of the Saudis with this. You know, we'll clear out the Palestinians and that'll be nice beachfront property. Don't think for a second they give a fuck about a two-state solution if they're thinking they're going to support Trump or not support Harris. Harris is the only one on the ticket right now running on the idea that we can have a two-state solution. Trump is like literally just said to Netanyahu, do what you've got to do. Do what you got to do. Does that sound like be careful, don't kill any excess civilians? Does that sound like do what you got to do, rebuild Gaza, do what you got to do, figure out a two-state solution? Is that what that sounds like? Huh? Fucking dipshit. But on top of that, same thing here. He did not sign the VA Choice Act. Sorry. Somebody was like... Yeah, this... hold on, whoops. Is this what you're talking about? Explosions heard in Iran, Syria as Middle East braces for Israeli retaliation. Again, a lot of these are internal. Loud explosions heard in Iran and near Syria's capital early Saturday. The possible start of a weighted response by Israel to a ballistic barrage. Iran's state TV said several strong explosions were heard in the capital of Tehran, but there was no official comment about the source of the explosions. Again, some of these were bombs set a long time ago by resistance inside the country. Semi-official Iranian media, which is really fun, said explosions were also heard in the nearby city of Karaj. Israeli Defense Forces said its military was conducting precise strikes. Syrian state TV said explosions were also heard in the Damascus countryside and central region, which is, by the way, where the Russian base that the American base that Trump gave to Russia that's been used by Iran to transfer aid and arms to Hezbollah was used. So.
Speech in Las Vegas, 29,000 people. It was an arena. We set the arena record.
No, you didn't. And it's free. Fuck off.
That was a big deal arena, too. We set the record, but it was an amazing crowd. The first time I ever said it, I don't know, it just came out, garbage can.
By the way, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Like, Metallica jacks up every stadium it's in to the fucking rafters. You will never, as long as Metallica is still touring, no one, between Metallica, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, fucking the Kiss final tour, like, there's no way this motherfucker, even with free tickets, these are free. You don't pay. He doesn't sell out anything. Nothing's for sale. These are free tickets. They're free. They're fucking free. It's free to go to one of these rallies. You know how I know? Because I've been to 2 of them. They're free. And they're easy to get into. You don't have to wait all fucking day unless you're a fucking front row Joe and you're a nutcase.
And we're like a garbage can for the rest of the world to dump the people that they don't want. Do you know what they save on that? Their mental institutions are being emptied out. Their jails and prisons are being emptied out. And their gangs and their drug dealers and everybody's being taken off the streets. And Venezuelan crime is down 72%.
No, it isn't.
Can you believe it? Well, that's because they...
No, I can't believe it, because it's not true.
You know, the criminals are being put here.
No, Venezuelan crime is down like 27% because they did a big gang roundup. They did the exact opposite. They took all their gang members off the fucking streets.
If we don't win this election, we're going to go to Venezuela next year, Ted. And
please just go. If you think it's fucking awesome, beat feet, motherfucker. If America's a garbage can and all of our cities are in ruins, fuck you. If you fill your boots, Jesus.
We're going to celebrate there because it's going to be much safer than our country, okay? Is that a deal? We'll all go together.
You're winning. Yes. Somebody just yelled, "You're winning."
No, it's just so bad. Well, I have to tell you, I'm not supposed to say it, but we are winning by a lot, actually.
By the way, no, you're not. And the reason they're saying don't say that is because he's diminishing the vote, and he can't help himself. Thank you. I don't want to win, though. I want to go home.
The reason is we want them to keep voting because we have to go. You know, these used to take one day. Now they go on forever. And bad things happen. Lots of bad things happen. Where are those votes that I saw 2 days ago? Well, we're painting that section, and we decided to move them, sir. Oh, you can't believe it. So,
yes, I can't believe it. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So, the idea is like, didn't we have a big bunch of boxes of votes for me over here? Oh, we had to move those because we're painting the wall, is the story he's telling. This is right up there with, we can't watch the president on TV, darling, the wind isn't blowing. It's the same shit.
They said, don't say it, so I didn't say it. Don't tell anyone I said that, but we're doing well. We're doing well in all 7 states. Every one of those swing states we're doing well.
Dude, if you were doing well, there wouldn't be 7 swing states. Because there used to be a lot fewer because Democrats used to fight for 3 of them. Now there's 7.
And we're doing really well here.
Georgia's a fucking swing state. Think about that. Asshole, think about this. It used to be, remember, I don't know if you guys remember, when I was like first voting, I first voted in 1988, okay? And because I turned 18 right before the election. And I don't know if you remember, but it used to just be Ohio and Florida. And the idea is like, these are the swing states that matter. If you take Ohio and Florida, that's the lock, right? That both sides had a certain number, right, of electoral votes they could count on. But the 2 big swing states were Ohio and Florida. It was a huge number. And, you know, if you got both of those, you had the lock on it, right? And then at one point there, like Florida kind of came off the list, and it was like Ohio, Wisconsin, for example. Now there's fucking 7, and 4 of them are former red states. They're just smaller. So if you lose one big state, you can win these 4 smaller states, and that will make up for that number. So Republicans are starting to have to defend the idea that, I mean, after John McCain, you know, Arizona basically went to play. That's why Trump freaked out that he lost it, right? Now he's in fucking Texas defending Ted Cruz's seat. That's why Ted Cruz is there. This is an event for Ted Cruz, which is fucking weird. In a gymnasium or a little office building or some shit.
But we expect that. We expect. But in another atrocity, Kamala released and unvetted MS-13 gang members, from El Salvador into the United States. These are real beauties. MS-13, that's another gang. They use knives. They like knives because it's more painful.
Oh, he's been telling this fucking story for a while.
So they cut people up. They killed 2 young students walking to school, 2 beautiful young women, young girls.
He's been telling this same story for years.
And they were walking to school and they...
Right. Let me just say this. While horrible as that is, if migrant crime is this runaway problem, why would you ever have to tell the same story twice? Right? Imagine if our defense about school shootings, all we ever brought up was Columbine. You know what I mean? Like, we really didn't have anything to draw from. We didn't, like, you know, there was, you know, like, we've got to do something about, you know, these crazy people getting guns and shooting up places like that because, you know, these 2 guys walked into a school and they had this plan to do this. Remember that shit? Like, if I had to go back that far, you'd kind of question whether or not it was the threat I was saying, right?
They got him walking to school, and they knifed him up and cut him up. Didn't want to use guns because that's not painful. And you know who got rid of them? ICE. They're friends from ICE. They work so well together. And Kamala wants... ICE is... You know what ICE is? Tough people that love our country. They have to...
Yeah, that's what it is. Tough people that love our country. Real quick, let me grab this one. Where is the thing you do? Guys, very important. Here it is. There you go. So this is a memorandum from Mayorkas. This is September 30th, 2021. This is Mayorkas's memo. Alejandro Mayorkas. Guidelines for enforcement of civil immigration law. That's what this memorandum is. That was from the Biden administration. The exercise of prosecutorial discretion. It is well established in the law that federal government officials have broad discretion to decide who should be subject to arrest, detainers, removal proceedings, and the execution of removal orders. The exercise of prosecutorial discretion in the immigration arena is a deep-rooted tradition. The United States Supreme Court stated this clearly in 2012. A principal feature of the removal system is the broad discretion exercised by immigration officials. Federal officials, as an initial matter, must decide whether it makes sense to pursue removal at all. Okay. In an opinion by Justice Scalia about 12 years earlier, the Supreme Court emphasized that enforcement discretion extends throughout the entire removal process, and at each stage the executive has the discretion to not pursue it. It is essential that there are more than it is estimated that there are more than 11 million undocumented or otherwise removable non-citizens in the United States. We do not have the resources to apprehend and seek the removal of every one of these non-citizens. Therefore, we need to exercise our discretion and determine whom to prioritize for immigration enforcement action. In exercising our discretion, we are guided by the fact that the majority of undocumented non-citizens who should be subject to removal have been contributing members of our communities for years. This would be DACA and people who are just working. They include individuals who work on the front lines of the battle against COVID, lead our congregations of faith, teach our children, do backbreaking farm work to help deliver food, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the fact that an individual is a removable non-citizen, therefore, should not alone be the basis for enforcement action against them. We will use our discretion and focus our enforcement resources in a more targeted way. Justice and our country's well-being require it by exercising. Okay, so civil immigration enforcement priorities. We establish civil immigration enforcement priorities to most effectively achieve our goals with the resources we have. We have prioritized for apprehension and removal non-citizens who are a threat to our national security, public safety, and border security. Meaning coyotes, people who bring people in and all that kind of stuff, drug dealers, murderers, criminals of any sort, and any kind of terrorists. Okay. Threat to national security. A non-citizen who engaged in past tense, or is suspected of terrorism or espionage or terrorism-related or espionage-related activities, or who otherwise poses a danger to national security, is a priority for apprehension and removal. Threat to public safety. A non-citizen who poses a current threat to public safety, typically because of serious criminal conduct, is a priority for apprehension and removal. Whether a non-citizen poses a current threat to public safety is not to be determined according to bright lines or categories. It instead requires an assessment of the individual and the totality of the facts and circumstances. There can be aggravating factors that militate in favor of enforcement action. Such factors can include, for example, the gravity of the offense of the conviction and the sentence imposed, the nature and degree of harm caused by a criminal offense, the sophistication of the criminal offense, use or threatened use of a firearm or a dangerous weapon, a serious prior criminal record. Conversely, there can be mitigating factors that militate in favor of declining enforcement action. Such factors include advanced or tender age, a little child, or a very old person. Lengthy presence in the United States. They have been here for decades and decades and decades and decades. A mental condition that may have contributed to the criminal conduct, or a physical or mental condition requiring care or treatment. Status as a victim of crime or victim, witness, or party in legal proceedings. So so people can't just turn in their accuser. If, let's say, an American citizen sexually assaults a migrant, assuming that person can't say anything, and then turns them in. So that would be a mitigating circumstance, right? The impact of removal on family in the United States, such as loss of a provider or caregiver, whether the non-citizen may be eligible for humanitarian protection or other immigration relief, that would be asylum, military or other public service for a non-citizen and their immediate family, time since an offense and evidence of rehabilitation, conviction was vacated or expunged. Okay, these are the, and then threat to border security and all that kind of stuff. Okay, that was the priority put out. And when Trump's like, we're going to get these criminals out right away. We're going to get them out. We're going to get the criminals out right away. Like, motherfucker, that's what we always do. That's always the priority. We can't get everybody, so you start with the criminals. And that's what Trump says he's going to do. Well, guess what, motherfucker? We're already doing that. But we need more resources to go after the people who aren't criminals. We need to add on to those. We need more judges. We need more lawyers. We need more enforcement officials. We need more border agents. We need more ICE agents. And the way you do that is pass the border bill. But he didn't do that. You know why? Because he doesn't want to differentiate between the people who've committed a crime who are here and people who are just fucking, acting as caregivers for elderly people in exchange for a low wage that you would not, on a service that most Americans would not be able to afford if the person was documented and lived here and, God forbid, was fucking unionized.
It'd be tough, because I know a lot of tough people right up here. You don't want to do what they do.
Yeah, those tough ICE guys that have to go round up nannies. Fuck you.
They got to be tough, and they've done a great job, but they did a very good job here.
Great. Thanks, man. Well said. Yeah, you got me. They got a great new job thing, right? Yeah.
But the animal that went on to attack and tie up a 20-year-old autistic woman in Maryland before raping her and strangled her to death very violently in front of numerous people. And
in front of numerous people? Hold on, wait. This would be okay. And feeling self-suspect to the border, who was autistic, argues that this would be safety issue. This woman is suing Homeland Security for $100 million. Tammy Nobles for the political issues, safety of our country. 2 days later, she interview with News Nation about nobody at the border did their job and checked his background. The feds had properly screened the suspect, even by checking his tattoos. They would realize he was a member of a gang, disqualifying him from entry. Want everybody to know what's going on at the border. Found so much mind-boggling. Blah blah blah. Her daughter is inside her Frederick, Maryland trailer on July 27th, 2022. This would be her. Hold on one second. She'd been living. Okay. This is really sad. But let me show you something, how, screwed up this is. Her daughter was raped and strangled inside her Frederick, Maryland trailer on July 27, 2022. She had been living with the suspect, who allegedly sublet the trailer from another undocumented migrant. Authorities were finally able to nab him in January 2023 after comparing his DNA to evidence from the crime scene. He was charged with first-degree murder, as well as rape and robbery, and is being held without bail before his trial slated for June 28th. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement confirmed a suspect, a 17-year-old El Salvador native, was listed as a member of MS-13. 17 years old. She was killed by a minor, and she was 20. She's 20 years old. She was living with a 17-year-old who had sublet it as well. And her mother is suing DHS for not vetting him better. Yeah, she's suing for $100 million. For me, it's a political issue. It's not a political issue. It's a safety. Nobles and her attorney said the teen should never have been let in the country in the first place. Okay. Confirmed the suspect, a 7-year-old, was listed as a member of MS-13. That's the girl and her mom. We're bringing this lawsuit because we're tired of being held hostage in our own country. She was living with the dude who was a kid. Like, she was 20 and she's autistic, so you could argue that she's not mature enough maybe even to be living on her own. She's living 20 years old with a 17-year-old that they were both subletting. It makes it, again, they want to make it look like this was like a jogger murdered by, somebody, and that happens, but they're trying to stack these things so that you won't bother to look. That these are, like, it's gross that this kid was allowed in the country and all that kind of stuff. That's not the problem, but he's still a minor. He's a 17-year-old.
Actually,
by the way, any minor trying to escape gang life is going to have gang tattoos if they're coming up here. I'm just saying.
Put it on tape. Put it on tape. These are the...
Also, I don't know where that whole they put it on tape and he did it in front of a bunch of people stuff. Let's see. Mom of alleged MS-13. Okay, that's her suing. Sends fiery message to Biden. That's why they found her. Whatever. Okay. Lost her autistic daughter. She was on Fox and Friends first talking about this. There was a more secure border. Officially confirmed he was 17. I want them to be properly vetted, testified before Congress. So that's why he brings her up. This comes as the Biden administration touted a drop in migrant encounters this month upon ending Title 42, which dropped 70% in numbers because they were the same people coming back and forth over and over again. Right. I don't see anything in the details of this about the filming part of it. Hard to say. Yeah, they don't include that part of it, and I don't look forward to reading about it in that regard. But yeah, okay, strangling to death with a cord. Okay, sues suspect. There's a lot of story about that. Let's see. Announced the wrongful death lawsuit, which names defendant on social media. Oh, she announced it on social media. Yeah, most of the story is about DHS finding this. Sorry. Trying to find some element of... Yeah, here, maybe it'll be in this one. I don't want to put it on... Sorry, I have it on screen. I don't want... Like, I'll show you. Hold on one second. Wait till it loads. I don't want to necessarily put this on screen. Click here if the page does not go out of my... Okay. Does not. Okay. That this is the story, right? Yeah. So I don't want to put it on the whole thing on screen if there's anything disturbing in it. So give me 1 second. Hamilton, she was autistic and recently moved to Aberdeen with her 22-year-old boyfriend. Oh, so maybe he was the one they were renting from. Was the 22-year-old boyfriend was undocumented? Arrested a 17-year-old undocumented non-citizen suspected in MS-13 for the murder of an autistic 20-year-old woman, according to Aberdeen, who was arrested for allegedly strangling her to death in July of 2022. Authorities were able to nab him after comparing his DNA evidence. We saw that part. Aberdeen is located 30 miles from Baltimore. Is there another story? Okay. Nope. Nope. Yeah, I can't find any of the stuff he's saying about filming it.
People were bringing into our country. In New York.
As far as I can tell, and I know he doesn't do any deep study of this, I can't find where he may have found that she filmed it or that the guy filmed it or did it in front of a bunch of other people. As a matter of fact, he was caught with DNA, so it's not like there were 9 witnesses.
New York this past summer, an illegal alien released into our custody and came into
under your custody, so he's your fault?
To our country by Kamala. You know, I never use the word Harris because nobody knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah, everybody knows who Harris is. Hold on one second. Let's go to, if I may, let's go by comparison, shall we? Hold on one second. Let's see. Started streaming 2 minutes ago. Imagine how upset everybody on the Republican side is getting when they're, I'm sure this is royalty-free music they're playing during this, I hope. Fair use, no copyright strikes. This is a political event for all Americans. By the way, rather large chat happening here. Some hot stuff. What's up, chat people? Is this... Okay, so yeah, they're looping this through until it starts. I haven't seen the footage of it yet. Meanwhile, it's just an enormous venue, and he's in this fucking gym.
I say Harris. They say, who the hell is Harris? It's true.
No,
I said VP Harris. Nobody knows who it is. Can you believe she's a VP?
Yes, I can believe she's a VP. I voted for her, you tit.
A VP. How about the guy she's got? That's where I'm not sure. It might be worse than her.
Oh, this is one of my. I think this is my favorite line of the whole thing.
Well, she lived by the old adage: always get yourself a bad VP.
If I may, you mean like this guy? I mean, honestly. Sorry, let me run that by again. Sorry.
A VP. How about the guy she's got? That's where I'm not sure. It might be worse than her. Well, she lived by the old adage: always get yourself a bad VP, and she's got one.
Ouch.
We were very happy when we heard that choice, but we didn't.
Always get yourself a bad VP. That's right. You can't go wrong.
No, he was as bad as he did. He's a disaster.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's actually really charming and fun.
But Kamala approached 2 13-year-old children with, think of this, these people that she let in with machetes.
Sorry, so she approached them with machetes, so she's going to take them out herself.
Knives, guns, in broad daylight, forced them into the woods, tied them up together, their wrists, everything, raped the young girl, park,
raped the whole park?
Filmed the entire thing, put it on camera, put it out.
He put it on camera?
For everybody to see.
On camera?
Badly injured this person and somebody with her too, really badly. In
really badly?
Georgia this year.
Jesus Christ. Like the abstract just, like this just, it's like somebody flipping channels trying to pick a Netflix true crime documentary, just reading the worst words that are in the description out loud, going, I don't know. Boop. Like a murderer, Zodiac stabbing and shoot. Boop. The guy, dog told him to set fire to fighting, shoot, bang. Lover's Lane, boop, like it's so creepy.
And you know this, everybody knows this, except Biden.
Everybody.
He didn't know how to pronounce her name after pressure because he didn't talk about it.
Oh, Laken Riley, he's going to
either Alexis, he refused to talk about it. Then he was actually forced to because it got so crazy.
Because it got so crazy, he addressed it during the SOTU.
But in Georgia this year, an illegal alien criminal with ties to Trende Aragua kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered a brilliant young nursing student, Lake.
Again, I gotta say, if you're Donald Trump, I would say in general, don't bring up. Hold on, where is it? What if you're gonna do this? If you're gonna bring up migrant crime, don't bring up Venezuelans. If you're Donald Trump. I would just avoid, and by the way, if there's this huge wave of migrant crime like you say, you shouldn't even have to mention the same country twice. If there's 181 of them and they're all from mental institutions and they're all cannibals like Hannibal Lecter, I would just not bring up Venezuela for this particular reason.
In Raleigh, you remember? Lake and Riley, it was a beautiful, I got to meet the parents a couple of times. They're incredible, but they're like devastated. You know, you can't really say, oh, well, everything will be, it's not.
There's a woman right behind him who's lost her daughter.
It's going to be okay. It's not good. It's just, you can't really, there's nothing you can say, really.
Jesus Christ. Well, yeah, why bother, you know? Why should I meet with these assholes? I can't really say anything anyway. It's just terrible.
A lot of times they say, like to Alexis, what can I say?
Great. Thanks, man.
The only thing we can do is do something about it so it doesn't happen again, you know? And so,
well, then you say we're going to do something about it. We're going to take your pain and go through, and I'm sorry for your loss, and we'll make sure that this doesn't happen again. And that's what you say.
We can do.
He just doesn't know what the empathy words are for.
But she murdered her while she was out on a run. She wanted to keep herself in good shape, and they got her.
They got her.
Her killer was yet another
Is this the same they that shot at you in Butler? I always get confused because the they is a pretty big word.
Monster released into America through this open border policy of Kamala and her group of radical left idiots. Under the Trump administration, we will end this migrant invasion, and we will.
Does he have a quota? He's got, if he says radical left, he can't say lunatic too many times. He's got to switch to another.
We'll deport every last criminal alien targeting our daughters and our children, our families, other people's families. They're going to be gone. They're going to be gone fast. Some.
Also, this is a short. We're 23 minutes into this. There's probably about 20 minutes left. And we're going to the UNLV game, so I've got to leave before 6. So we'll get through as much as we can. But I gotta say, you guys see how fired up I get about some of these topics. If I was standing there with someone and I was defending the fact that they're, imagine if you would, I'm standing there and Donald Trump is in the audience, or I know he'll be watching the video, and one day he will. And this poor young lady who lost her child, who did indeed, according to him, lost her child to a Venezuelan who this asshole allowed to stay in the country. And he was accusing our side of being responsible for her death and abdicating his responsibility for directly guaranteeing that her child's killer got to stay in the country longer than they should have. Right? I wouldn't kind of just well, this is terrible. We're going to do, what do you do? What do you do? I don't know. But, next time we're going to, if you try to do, right? Like, can you imagine talking like that?
Some are so violent, we can't let them go. We can't send them in because they'll come back.
Well, by the way, that's his moment where he kind of has a cogent thought. He kind of has a realization that if remember what I was saying about everybody getting a fucking free plane ticket home? You just murder some people, and then you get a free plane ticket. It's fucking sweet. I'm not seeing Harris and Walz out there yet.
But we have some pretty strong policies that we're putting into place immediately on January 20th. We're honored to be joined by many of the incredible Border Patrol agents and law enforcement heroes who will help us restore safety to America. And I'd like to invite a very special person. He made such a good speech last night. They endorsed me. And this gentleman made a very good speech. I said, I'm going to have to go back and start practicing. Ted, you and I are going to have to practice a little bit. But Paul Perez just assumed the big power position from Brandon, who was a fantastic guy. He's still involved in so many ways, but they endorsed me, something they're not really probably even supposed to do. I won't get into.
What the fuck are you talking about? You mean the Customs and Border Patrol Union? Say it.
But they love the country. And in endorsing, they said very bad things about her. They don't want to say bad things either. They want to say great
Apparently they do.
Things. Even me. I didn't know I was going to do this.
What? Didn't know you were going to do what? This event?
We had a very good first election. We had a much better second election. We got...
Oh, I see. Yeah, I didn't know I was going to have to run in a couple of years. I'm tired. That's what he means.
Close to 12 million votes more than we did the first time. The highest number in history. And okay. And then I saw what was happening with the country. It was so bad and so incompetent. It didn't take long.
Oh, I see. This is his I ran because of Charlottesville. I'm running because of the border, right? He's trying to borrow that from Biden.
I would have preferred that the country was really well run.
I agree. If it was, you'd be in jail right now. But, I got to say, I'll take the infrastructure, and I'll take the CHIPS Act, and I'll take the American Rescue Plan and the advancements in, solar and wind and geothermal energy and all that. I love that. That's totally cool. I'll take that over Merrick Garland throwing your dumb ass in jail. I'm not in any rush because I'd rather you fucking sweat it.
John, I would have preferred it if the country was really, if Biden got in there and he was a great president, I would have actually preferred it. And right now it'd be...
No, you wouldn't, because you said the stock market was going to crash as soon as he got in there. You said it was going to be a 1929 style crash.
On a beach or a golf course or something, I'd be doing something else.
Do it.
But I'd rather be in Texas with you. I can tell you that. I'd rather be in Texas with you.
Why? Because no one else can do this? You're just convinced that if you didn't run, the Republicans would lose? Is that the idea? Because you basically turned the fucking party into a cult?
Because we're going to make our country great again, and we're going to do it. And if I could ask Paul just to come up and say a few words, and I appreciate very much the endorsement, Paul. Thank you very much. Please.
Okay, so whatever, blah, blah, blah. This dude's...
And he served in the military, as he claims. The Secretary of Homeland Security, also a former federal prosecutor. They know better. They should.
Okay,
boy,
yeah.
It's you can't say it better. You can't say it better. And they really know the subject. If they thought somebody was slightly better, that's what they want. They just want it fixed. And
okay, that's the slightly better part. Dude, if they want something that's slightly better, then the fucking border bill would pass. That's why the Customs and Border Patrol were for it.
Their job's a lot easier just to let everybody pour through. It's a tough...
What? Wait a minute. So you're telling me this motherfucker is just letting people pour through? He was ordered, that's what you're telling me. He was ordered by Joe Biden to let people pour through, and he said yes. They just said, yes, sir, I'm just following orders. Come on in, folks. Just, yeah, Yeah, I don't even want to know your name. Just go. Just go. So that's what you're telling me. You're telling me that this motherfucker is just letting people go by him. They're not pulling over cars and trucks full of people. They're not checking to see if anybody's being smuggled in. They're just standing there with their fucking arms crossed with the gates wide open, and then people are just running through. That's what you're telling me. Why? So I guess the biggest question is, and this got to be the pushback from Democrats, why does Donald Trump keep saying that Customs and Border Patrol, why the border guards and the border personnel aren't doing their job? Why is he saying, why is he accusing them of malfeasance, of traitorous and treasonous behavior, allowing for this stampede, that they're just going, well, I can't do shit? Because think about it. These motherfuckers are telling us that the Customs and Border Patrol are doing the same thing that they say the Capitol Police did with the rioters on Jan 6. They just opened the doors and just said, I don't know, come on in, up to you. Right? According to them, cops just are looking for any excuse not to do their job. That would be the theory, right? That's what he's saying. I'm over time, but I think that's a good point to end on, if I may. There's a couple of questions people need to ask Trump every time this shit comes up. One is, why does he keep lying about the 13,099 people? Because it's a number over 40 years, and those people aren't not detained. They're in federal or state penitentiaries, or they're fucking dead, quite frankly, because just because ICE doesn't have them detained doesn't even mean they're alive anymore. Secondly, where does he directly get his 20 million number from? And if he gets it from somebody at Customs and Border Patrol, he needs to tell us why that person and under whose orders. And this would be a good idea should there be a congressional hearing as to why Customs and Border Patrol agents are not doing their job? Because according to Trump, they aren't. Right? And then the third one, somebody needs to ask him about the kidney. Because
the kidney has a very special place in the heart.
And why he has to give such a stupid answer to the question of it every time it comes up. Thank you guys so much. Hit the like, share the show, help us out. See you tomorrow for the radio show, Houseparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Next Tuesday, Ultimate Jam Night, the Halloween show. Very excited. Followed by sexy liberal Los Angeles on the 2nd. Followed by Election Day, where I'll be doing a 24-hour live stream, noon to noon. Election Day, the 5th to the 6th. Staying up all night with you guys. I'll be with you. I might doze off a couple of times, but don't worry yourself. We'll be just fine. But I will be up with you, caffeinated, exhausted, dizzy. But I'll keep smiling and joking and talking. We'll do it from the other room with the cats and everything like that. It'll be great. So hit the like, share the stream, and I love you guys, and I'll see you later. This is Hal Sparks, Mega Worldwide, the greatest live stream in the history of live streams.